Hello, my name is Nosisa Do, the Programs Manager of ETV Ghana. Today, the 10th of May, is Mother's Day, and I want to wish every mother watching me right now a happy Mother's Day. But the 10th of May also happens to be World Lupus Day. And today with me for a special production is Sweetness. Sweetness is a lupus patient, and she also happens to be a mother. So we decided to have a conversation with her today to find out what the disease is about, how it has affected her, what she's doing to raise awareness about it, and what we as media practitioners, as viewers, can do to help raise awareness on the condition. Sweetness, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure meeting you. When the idea first came up to have this special edition, I was saying to myself that I'm 40 years old and I have never met anybody who said to me they have lupus.
Really?
And I said to myself, is it possibly because people are not being tested? They probably would be dealing with the condition and not knowing. I said, I don't know.
Yes, I'm sure there are people who are older than you who
Also don't know.
because the awareness about lupus is so low, and even in the West, it's said that about 50% of doctors don't know about it. So that is why I'm grateful to you and to your team for having us to create the awareness, especially on this special day that it coincides with Mother's Day, because 90% of people who suffer from lupus are women of childbearing age.
I was not aware of that.
Yes. So once you're a woman and you get to the childbearing age, you are prone to developing lupus if the right conditions are there.
So let me start by saying Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Same to you.
So tell me, who is Sweetness? Who are you?
Sweetness is a person who has evolved from years of confusion, years of agony and pain. But like Maya Angelou said, and I'll paraphrase that, you can't do anything about what happens to you, but you can choose your response to it. And it shouldn't make you any less of a person. Mm-hmm. And so after grieving and weeping over what is happening, why is life treating me this way, I chose to be sweet instead of bitter. And out of this, I believe that God in His wisdom is using it to inspire hope in others who are suffering and who are going through the confusion and the pains that I have been through or similar ones, and helping those who have relatives or loved ones going through similar things to understand them more and give them more support. And we're doing this through my non-profit, Oyemam Autoimmune Foundation.
Okay. Can you tell me more about lupus? What is the condition and is it hereditary, and what are the symptoms?
Basically, lupus is a condition that happens to a person when their immune system becomes confused. The immune system was putting us to protect our bodies from foreign invaders. However, a situation can occur where the immune system becomes confused, cannot tell which organs or tissues are part of me that I must protect. And then it attacks the bad ones and the good ones. And for every person, how lupus will affect their body is different, because we have different situations in life based on what you're eating, the environmental hazards you're exposed to, and so many other factors. So what the common symptoms may run through for most people, but in terms of organ damage and other tissue damage, it differs for everybody. Common things that could happen are joint pains, a lot of fever, which can be so prolonged for like weeks and months. And so as a result, lots of lupus patients either have to change jobs or lose their jobs. And if you're in a country where there's no support for disability or unemployment, then the burden is on you and your family. And at a point in time, people get fatigued. And lupus is a disease, we call it the invisible disease because you don't always look sick, but there's so much going on inside of you, which is wrong.
I can imagine.
And when you're living with your loved ones and every day they ask you, how are you, and you don't have a positive response, at a point you become tired yourself and you just give the cliche, I'm okay. But you know, deep down in your heart, you're not okay. And so there's some pain that you can't express or share with anybody, and that makes lupus a very lonely journey for a person. And then also, because it's a disease of flares and remissions, there are good days and there are bad days.
Right.
And when people are with you, maybe at the beginning of the disease, everybody gets so frightened because they think they're going to lose
The
you.
diagnosis has just come in.
Exactly, for a disease that there's no cure. It's chronic, so there's no cure. And so everybody gets scared, everybody rallies behind you and everything. But after some time, when you get well, and then you're okay, then you fall sick again, then you're okay, they see like, okay, yeah, it's one of those things, you know. And then maybe sometimes you may look well, and then they'll feel like you should be able to do this, you should be able to do that, you should. But then they do not realize that the condition has not left. And so sometimes you just want to push yourself to do things, but that does not mean that you really can. And that understanding should be there, because a family member can tell you that, well, you are feeling the physical pain, I'm also feeling the other kinds of pains. Because they see you in pain, they feel the pain, but they also feel like you should also understand them, that they're going through pain because they are bearing financial pains for you, they are bearing emotional pains for you and other things. Both caregivers and the patient need counseling and support. You know. And then some of the other symptoms that lupus has on people are loss of hair. So people can lose. There are people who have become completely bald. I got a call just this week from a lupus patient who had been diagnosed for about 2 years now, and she said, I just wanted to find out from you, will my hair grow back?
Does it grow back?
And I told her, yes, it will grow back. Just be calm. Don't worry about it. Take your mind off it. Look for nice ways of doing African rap, something to cheer yourself up, because anxiety in itself is a symptom. And the more it persists, you will get into clinical depression. And then they will have to put you on antidepressants, and they also have their side effects, and you don't want to get there. So I said, whatever happens, let's try and find a way around it. And I said, your hair will grow back. Just relax. Don't worry about it. There are even people who have cuts off their hair for life. I used to do, you know, acrylic nails and all of that. I had to decide that be as close to natural as possible for your own good, because this is how the thing is affecting your body.
That's right.
So I told people that sometimes when you realize that you're losing hair, don't worry about my hair is becoming thin. Maybe you should just try to be as close to natural as possible.
I would want to agree strongly that if you're going through something like that, and then you add chemicals to it, to a skin that is already sensitive, I don't think that we wisdom. So I totally agree with you that people should do their hair natural. If you are having any kind of chronic condition, I think it should be. But take me back to when you were first diagnosed. When was that, and what led to you going in to the hospital? What happened for you to find out that you had lupus?
Okay, so Mother's Day presents itself for that, because the diagnosis was made during my pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of women get diagnosed during pregnancy or just, you know, after.
Through the multiple tests that they usually run.
Yes, some
through
women
those
never
tests?
know they have lupus until they are pregnant. And then out of what is happening, they get to know that, oh, so this is the condition. Because pregnancy puts so much pressure on a female's body. There changes. And when your immune system is already confused and is fighting you, you see that the new human that is being formed in you is also becomes a target. Like it's a foreigner, and so the immune system can just go and attack it. And so the hyperactivity is higher, and without proper planning between you and your doctor, you endanger your life and the life of the new one coming. So lupus patients are not supposed to just decide to get pregnant on their own.
It has to be close.
It has to be planned with your doctors. But from research, it has been established that about 20% of lupus pregnancies are unplanned. And so, it is very risky. And when it happens, there must be a lot of collaboration between whichever specialists are taking care of you. Mind you, no one doctor takes care of a lupus patient because of how it is multifaceted.
Yes, and it's different organs.
So one lupus patient might be seeing the primary specialist, which is a rheumatologist, but they might be seeing a nephrologist also because the lupus is affecting their kidney, or might be seeing a hematologist because it's affecting their blood, or a neurologist because it's affecting their, central nervous system or nervous system, whatever, or it's affecting their skin. So for me, I had all these crazy things going on, from hair loss to skin damage.
During the pregnancy, and you didn't know?
Prior to that,
Prior to the
I had no
pregnancy.
clue what was going on.
Right.
I had an idea that it was an autoimmune condition, but I didn't know which one it was. And
Right.
I would always pray and hope that one day it would all just be a bad dream. But it kept on moving into days and weeks and months and years, and the bad dream was not, I wasn't waking up from it. So I got the name of what was happening to me during my pregnancy. And as bad as it was, it took me a while to come to terms with it and accept what it is, so that I could now make decisions on how I will live and still make the best out of my life. Because there's so many times I wish everything will end, life will cease, and we will all just vanish. And life was not ceasing. It's caused me to lose my job and so many other things. I lost social relationships and other things, and I have grieved a lot, but I had to move on with it.
Wow. So tell me, during the course of your pregnancy, and you've been diagnosed with lupus, how are you then balancing the pregnancy and having to take your medication?
Okay, so the reason why it is too risky for lupus patients to just get pregnant is because certain medications you cannot take when you're pregnant. So it's usually advised that 6 months before you get pregnant, you must inform your doctor. I intend to get pregnant in 6 months' time.
And nobody really knows when you'd actually get pregnant, right?
I intend to get
Oh,
pregnant.
my word.
And then if there are medications that they need to take you off, they take you
Right.
off and try to give you other ones and see how you will respond. If you have very low disease activity, you've been stable for a minimum of 3 months, then they can say, okay, we can try it, but we need to monitor you and see. And you see, there must be collaboration between your gynae and then your rheumatologist, because medications,
Contradicts.
yes,
the
they
contradictions.
react.
Yes,
And so
you have to
sometimes
watch out for
the gynae might say, oh, you need this, and then they might give that to you, and the rheumatologist might say, no, but you can't give this. And with our kind of health system in Ghana, where a lot of it is not computerized, it becomes very risky. I have lost my folder in hospitals before. And so I sit back and I say, so if I get a new doctor today who doesn't know what my medical history is, how do they refer? because I don't have all that information. I go to the OPD, you've paid, and where's your folder? And they can't find your folder. So we need to improve on our healthcare system to even be able to help save lives.
Our record keeping must improve.
Yes.
Like it must be digitalized, actually.
They have to be, and doctors must relate with each other for the purpose for which they were trained, to save lives.
That's right.
And sometimes I've had patients telling me that this doctor didn't want anyone to interfere in the treatment he's giving me, and got upset because another doctor came to ask, make inquiries about it, and so now they're giving me an attitude, and it's affecting me. I'm suffering.
Patients.
I'm the one suffering. The elephants are fighting, and the grass is suffering. So with that, and then also like lupus patients, sometimes you can't even breastfeed because the medications will seep through. I had an incident here in Ghana where a midwife called me and said, there's a patient and she's insisting on giving birth naturally. Because of this notion that if you have a cesarean session, I don't know whether it makes you less of a woman or it makes your baby less of a child. And so she's insisting she wants to have natural birth. And they're saying, for your condition, it is too risky. God has been merciful to you for you to get to full term. Let us help you take the baby out as quickly as possible so you can revert back to your medications to help you be alive to take care of your own child. She said, no, I want to have a natural one. So later on, they kind of gave up on her. And so even our societal norms and beliefs have an impact on the way we deal with this condition. And without the understanding, we are losing, like we always talk about maternal mortality, high rate of this, and high infant mortality. Lupus can affect babies' hearts when you're developing. So like in the developed world, people can give birth and then immediately they have to put heart pacer in the baby's hearts. So if you don't know that this is the kind of condition the woman had and she gave birth and the baby died, how would you know it was lupus that killed the baby?
Because I was about to say that with what I'm learning from you is this high mortality rates in deliveries, we don't really get to know what each woman was actually going through. We just all assume that, if you've been in labor, sometimes there's a point you get when you're in delivery where you feel like giving up. You almost feel like I can't push anymore or I can't. We always assume it could have been that or blood pressure or the heart.
The baby's heart rate can change in the process.
Yes.
Between labor, baby's heart rate can change. Lupus can affect the babies. So it's important that these conditions, and I learned from the immediate past director of Ghana Health Services in Greater Accra that for the first 10 diseases that doctors look at, lupus is not part. And so they always miss it. And so there's a need to sensitize doctors so that when women are pregnant, you need to watch out for which woman do we separate from the regular prenatal clinics and put them into a high-risk clinic because they have a condition. Because, mind you, lots of people don't even know that they have it.
That's it.
Because it looks like so many other
diseases.
It can look like a headache, stomach ache, backache,
Cancer,
fever. It looks like pneumonia sometimes. It looks like you have so many other diseases. So it's and a lot of people's deaths are blamed on other sicknesses, but it's caused by lupus. They will say, oh, the person died of kidney problem, but it was lupus nephritis. The only thing is that they didn't add the lupus to it because the kidney problem was caused by lupus. Black women have more organ damage from lupus than any other race. And from research, they are saying that majority of the black women who are affected by lupus are from West Africa.
We were talking earlier about how women in West Africa seem to be having a lot of symptoms about lupus, and I was thinking to myself that it's probably from lack of diagnosis, partly, isn't it? Health facilities, access to medical care, does that not play a role?
That plays a big role in it, and Mind you, we're not having clinical trials in Africa. Even if they are happening, they are so small, on such a small scale compared to what is happening in the West. The big pharmaceuticals are there, and a lot of the knowledge they are giving out are based on African Americans. But where did they all hail from? You know, the World Lupus Federation, which is, you know, an organization of so many lupus groups around the world, is championing this, and we have set up the whole month of May for lupus awareness, and then 10th of May annually since 2004. So this is the 17th observance of World Lupus Day, to raise awareness that lupus is a public health concern. It affects at least 5 million people around the world, 90% of which are women, and that lupus wears the face of other illnesses. It's an invisible disease which is killing people, and if we paid attention to it, we will save life. Even taking this COVID-19 pandemic that the whole world is faced with, a lot of the people who are dying are people with pre-existing conditions. Lupus patients take immunosuppressants. They are constantly suppressing their immune system. And so they are so prone to being infected. And if they get infected, their symptoms are going to be worse than a person who hasn't taken any immunosuppressant. And unfortunately, even the medication we are taking, one of them is at risk now. Lupus patients all over the world are now frightened for their lives because hydroxychloroquine has become gold now. And what we are saying is that there's the need for us to have lupus clinics, not only in Ghana, but in West Africa and all across Africa, because we are being seen by general practitioners, but this is a disease that needs to be attended to by specialists. We need rheumatologists. I spoke to one doctor and I said, why don't we have enough rheumatologists? And he says the cost is expensive. And I said, well, then we are pleading with the government of Ghana. Use the GET fund to sponsor some doctors to specialize in rheumatology, because we need rheumatologists in Ghana. We need lupus clinics in Ghana where women can go. It will help us to reduce maternal mortality. It will help us to reduce infant, mortality. And then it will also help people to live longer, because then people will not just die because they don't know what is going on. A lot of people say, I keep on going, they keep on testing, they can't find anything wrong with me. They say all my tests are fine, but I know I'm not well. Oh, the person dies and they say they don't know the cause of death. Most of it is autoimmunity. The person's own immune system is fighting. And sometimes it's caused by environmental factors. Look at in your neighborhood, there are lots of farms that grow vegetables. If you go there, I went there right behind Fiesta Royale, and I asked them, do you use glyphosate? They say we use. And I was just inquiring about the different kinds of chemicals they use, because I have become conscious of it. But if people are not conscious, you buy carrots, you buy green pepper, and then you keep it out, and it's rotten. Tomatoes gets rotten by the next day, and you can't believe it. Unless you you clean it and keep it in the freezer, you're going to waste your money and lose part of your meal. You put it in the fridge and it's getting bad. So there's so much chemicals. And when it goes to the market, how even the market women are preserving. We see all kinds of videos on social media about bad chemicals they are putting on things. All these things enter the human body and they confuse the system. They cause autoimmunity. And it can affect any part of the person's body. This year, I'm saddened because I've lost schoolmates of mine, young people who have just died. Some they say stroke, some they said he slept and didn't wake up. What kind of thing is going on? A lot of it is autoimmunity, which we need to pay attention to. We need a government to sponsor more doctors. We need lupus clinics. We need the labs. I go to the labs, I look at people, and then when they mention the price of tests, their face just drops, and sometimes they go and they never come back. So that support has to be. NHIS does not support a lot of the medications we take. So we need all those things, just as it's being done for other conditions, to be put in place. Our policymakers to come on board, because it's time to put autoimmunity on Ghana's national agenda. We wouldn't have lost some of the people we are losing.
That's right. So going back to today being Mother's Day and you being a mom, how many children do you have?
I have two.
Oh wow, that's
By
wonderful.
God's grace.
By God's grace, because honestly, with the medications and everything they are taking, it must have been a miracle for you to be told that you're expecting once and then twice. So how do you manage dealing with the condition and being a mom, especially when you're having that bad day?
Yeah. Well, I guess I got baptized in fright before they arrived, because I never imagined I would have my own children. I thought I would just adopt, because I knew about lupus before I married. And God has been merciful to me and blessed me with my silent heart desire. I always wanted a boy and a girl, and He blessed me with that. It was life-threatening because I went through a lot of hell, but He saved my life. At a point, I even contemplated abortion because of all that was going on. But a lot of counseling and prayers. So for me, spirituality has been a great foundation for me. Like being able to have your own solemn times with your Maker, because you know that the doctors are treating you, but at the end of the day, even the medication side effect can also cause more problems for you. So that relationship, others will say meditation and all the other kind, Tai Chi and yoga, that spirituality is very important. And then being able to build a support system.
I was about to say, because I was about to ask you that, do you have like a helper in the home, or it's just you and your partner and the kids? So how would you cope?
I don't have an external helper. It's me and my husband, who is super, super supportive. If you're a married person with lupus and you don't have a supportive spouse, you will end it quickly. And even some who are married end up divorcing because the pressure is just too much for both and they can't cope. People who are not even married break up because they don't want to.
The burden, they think it's a burden to have somebody
and
with
it's
lupus.
frightening because you know that you can lose this person at any time. So the support system I have, by God's grace, is my husband, and then my parents, my siblings, and I have loved ones who chip in here and there, because everybody's living their lives, but at least you know that you have a few people who are mindful of you, who check on you they know that, oh, she lost her job, let me check on her. Oh, maybe I can help her a little bit once in a while. Or sometimes not even in monetary terms, but in so many different ways. Because a lot of times you are home and you feel down, especially when you are in so much pain. You want to get out from bed and get water from the fridge and you can't. Or you want to even clean your own house and there's no energy. Maybe somebody can visit you and say you're a lazy person. Look at how messy your house is looking.
No, out of ignorance, really.
And then, I've had times that my children would say, Mommy, you are not minding me. I'm talking to you and you're not minding me. And I want you to bath me. And I said, I can't bath you. Can you please try and do it for yourself? No! I don't want you to be my mommy anymore. You're a bad mommy.
Oh.
And then one time, I started crying immediately.
Oh.
And then my son started crying too. I said, I'm sorry, Mommy. I want you to be my mommy.
So what do you explain to them then? How do you explain why Mommy can't bath me? Why is Mommy sleeping so much?
Yes, so especially when my fingers are swollen, I try to sit him down and say, look at my finger. And then I'll show the one that is normal. And I say, see, mommy is having a lot of pains. So can you please help me? Mommy needs help. Or there are times that I don't want to hear any sound. Or I don't want light.
Like somebody having a migraine.
Yes, sometimes the least sound worsens the pain you are feeling. So I want to be in a dark room and then they keep on going to switch on the light. Or I'm having a headache and I really need to sleep, especially in this lockdown period where they've not been going to school. Lord, it's been super stressful.
Yeah, because they are with you all the time.
They're with you all the time. And then they've been having Zoom classes, from their schools. But even with that, they want you to sit by them to do. I said, I'm not in your class. Why do you want me to sit? No. As soon as you get up, they also get up. And it's just sometimes it's just so overwhelming. You don't know what to do. And I said, okay, I'm taking you to Auntie's house. I don't want to go to Auntie's house.
I want to be with you. And besides, the stay at home, you're not supposed to visit, so they have to stay at home with you.
Yes.
To reduce infection, COVID-19. I want to know from you, what advice briefly would you give to patients dealing with lupus?
There's a lot of denial when you first find out about it, and there's a tendency not to follow the directions that your doctor is giving you. I would say that I suffered a lot for that, and I would encourage everyone, in as much as it is difficult when you come up to that reality, take your medications, make sure you make your appointments, try to change your diet when you find out that what you're eating is not helping your body.
That's right, very important.
Drink a lot of water. You're going to lose some friends, but that is fine because you cannot make it to every social engagement. And you have to learn to say no without feeling guilty about it. I'm sorry, I can't make it. Because first of all, you have to love yourself before you can love your neighbor effectively. And then also try to build a support system. And I know we get tired of always telling the truth about how we feel, but let at least those who are close to you really know what you're going through so that they can support you because they understand you. But sometimes we try to act strong. We know we are hurting, but we say, I don't want them to feel bad for me, so I'm acting strong. And then because they don't understand really what is going on, they also have certain expectations of us, and we are not able to meet them because it is what it is, and we end up getting hurt, and emotions trigger symptoms also. So it makes it worse. So build a support system, and then also one of the things you can do is just rest. Try to rest. I used to think that life would pass me by and then I'll force and push in so much. And then you realize that you break down, and when you break down, it's worse because you have to increase the doses of the medications you are taking, and you're going to spend more money on that, and you're going to be in more pain and stress out your caregivers also more.
And then what advice do you have for the caregivers, those around the person dealing with the condition?
For caregivers, I would say that sometimes we don't always tell you the truth about how we are feeling, because we also kind of empathize that because of me, you are suffering so much. I don't want to always be telling you really how. So sometimes we try to act strong, but it's at a cost. And a lot of time there's that pain in there that you can't really express. So they should read in between the lines. And then they should try to put themselves in the patient's shoes. And because you live with them, with us all the time, you see our good days and our bad days. And there are days that are bad, but we try to act strong. You don't assume that it is a good day, and so then, and sometimes you feel like, well, you should still be able to do it. I mean, this is a condition you are living with, so still manage. But you should try to be understanding as much as possible, yeah. And seek help, because I know that it's a lot of stress on caregivers to seek help. Even though you are not the patient, still seek help, because everybody needs a break.
I would say the caregivers should also take it upon themselves to do as much research on the condition as they can.
Yes.
And then only then can you really help your friend or your family member, because
Yes.
you understand what's going on, that they themselves are on a daily basis learning something new about the condition. So as a caregiver or a family member, you need to know what's going on with the condition. Now, you were working before and you stopped working. What advice would you give to companies that don't understand why a certain employee has constant swelling, is asking for a new chair, they have back pain and all that, and it's probably maybe lupus or maybe not, but it could be. What would you say to employers that may possibly have a patient, a lupus patient?
I would say that if an employee keeps, drawing attention to a particular issue with them, rather than stigmatizing them, you should investigate. You should take interest in knowing what could be causing it. Because we have great talents which are hindered from being productive because of autoimmune diseases like lupus.
Right.
And so sometimes it might even be from an HR's recommendation that a patient might seek medical help and get a diagnosis. And you would not only have helped your company, but you would have saved a life. And that life also would have ripple effects on so many others, because we are all interconnected. And then also, in as much as we think of bottom line in business, we should know that there cannot be bottom line without human beings, and healthy human beings for that matter. So when we treat people first and we treat them right, the bottom line will be raised.
True, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Now, my final question before you tell us how to get in touch with you and everything would be for the woman out there watching who wants to be a mom, who is already pregnant and has this condition. What message of hope can you give them?
I would say that I never imagined I would even have one, but God has given me two. The same God that did it for me will do it for you. Have faith, just take your medications, and please always be active and in touch with your doctor. Fear has a lot of torment. I suffered it and I almost made a grave mistake. Be confident and trust that God will see you through.
Right. So, do you have any special Mother's Day message for anyone?
Yes, I would want to wish my mom, Reverend Beatrice, a big and a happy Mother's Day. She is my #1 intercessor. She supports me. She always says, whenever I'm having a crisis, she says, God, you did not tell me I will bury my daughter. And she rallies prayer for me. And that is why I'm still here. And also all my other mothers. I'm blessed with so many mothers. You don't want me to mention your names? Okay, so there are so many that if I even mention, I may leave some out, but just on the top of my mind, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to Professor Audrey Gajepo, Miss Esther Koba, Reverend Dr. Rama Safojo, Miss Julian Heathcote, Dr. Linda Van Otu, Dr. Afisa Zachariah, and all my mothers. I wish you all Happy Mother's Day, and to the First Lady of the Republic of Ghana, Mama Rebecca, Happy Mother's Day. May God continue to give you all the wisdom to be mothers to us. And to the young mothers who are up and coming, may God give us the wisdom to raise our children right, to be useful to Him and to Mother Ghana and the world at large.
So how do people get in touch with you to help you raise awareness on lupus?
Oyemam Autoimmune Foundation is on Facebook with the same name, Oyemam Autoimmune Foundation. And we are also on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We also have a website. So you could reach us on any of those platforms, or you could call our numbers also, which will be displayed for you so that you can write it out, and our email oyemamfoundation@gmail to help us raise awareness, because we are losing a lot of our women to lupus who don't even know it's lupus, and we need to raise the awareness. And not only the awareness, but even to husbands and all other parts of society to raise the awareness. There are patients that need medication who cannot afford. One thing with lupus is you must eat healthy, and eating healthy comes at a cost, and a lot of these people have lost their jobs. So how do they eat healthy? We need support. We need women to be empowered in other ways, because if you lose one job, you still need to find another form of empowerment, you know, to be economically sound. And so we need all kinds of support for these patients. We need counselors. We need pharmaceuticals to be on board to help, even if it's discounted costs for the medications, laboratories to give discounted lab tests. And then, so it's interesting that a lot of the tests we do, like the ANA test and, you know, the C complement test that we have to do, a lot of times they will say they are going to run it in South Africa. And if a person needs a diagnosis quickly, you now have to wait for your test to be sent to South Africa and brought it back. And so we need to be able to run some of these tests here in Ghana for quicker diagnosis, because the quicker the diagnosis, the likelihood that you may save the person from developing worse symptoms or even saving their lives. And so please reach out, help us adopt a patient, be a counselor, be a lupus advocate, and let's all help have a wonderful life.
Thank you so much for today, for taking time out of your schedule to come, one, to celebrate Mother's Day with us and to raise awareness on this condition that a lot of people probably didn't know much about till today, till this interview. And we're very grateful to you. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, I know Mother's Day is mostly for women, but there are men who also do wonderful mothering. So happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful male mothers out there, including my husband.
Oh,
Mr. Danso.
that is wonderful. That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
She gave me life, showed me what was right, taught me not to fight the battles that weren't worth the fight. Right from the